Hi guys, welcome to today's webinar on Adobe Illustrator Fundamentals. I'm here with Sandy Spills of Sandy Spills Design, and I am Ken McNeely. And today we're going to go over some of the benefits of using Adobe Illustrator in your creative design process. Adobe Illustrator is the industry standard vector graphics software. It lets you create logos, icons, drawings, typography, and illustration for web, print, video, and even mobile applications. I started using Adobe Illustrator, say, in 1987. It was originally created for Apple Macintosh computer. Um, Eventually, it migrated over to Windows PC. I've been using it for my clients. My clients give me a lot of different types of files, so Adobe Illustrator is one of these tools I use in order to do pre-press, um, illustration, color correction, layouts, you name it. It has a lot of different uses. And so today I'm going to show you a little bit about what it can do for you. So let's get started. I'm going to take you to the home screen. When you launch Adobe Illustrator, this is the screen that you'll most likely see. Here at the top, you'll see your new file set up for print, web, mobile, and even multimedia or custom applications. All right, over to the left here, I'm going to double click and create a new document or artboard. Right here, you'll see you can click here, and this is where you're going to name your file. It's also handy for when you're trying to locate it after you saved it. Sometimes I'll try and save things and I can't remember whether it's Untitled 1, 2, 3. It's just difficult. So I'll suggest you go ahead and do that right now. But for today's purposes, I'm not going to do it. Just below here, I'm going to show you the dimensions. Right here, you'll see I have a standard dimension of 8.5 by 11. To the right of that, you're going to see your measurements, which usually it starts out maybe you'll see points instead of inches, but I usually use inches, so mine's already defaulted. Below here, you also see measurement for millimeters, centimeters, and even pixels, which is more common for web design. Under there, you'll see there are dimensions for a bleed. A bleed is basically how much space is outside of your artboard. This is come in handy when you're getting ready to design for print. I usually tell my customers to use an eighth, which is about 0.125. So that way there won't be anything that cuts into their actual art or their layout. All right. As you can see over here, I have a standard 8.5 by 11 layout. And so when I click here and then go to create, a new artboard appears. Well, outside here, this red line is where you see your bleed. That's that 0.125 that we set. I'm not going to actually use that for right now, so I'm going to go and hide that. I'm going to go to view, go down to my guides and hide guides. That way it disappears. Okay. At the top of your frame, you'll see there is a menu here. I'm just going to talk a little bit about that briefly. It starts out with your file command. This is where you're going to go and create a new document, or you can open existing documents, or you can save, close, or do a save as if you've already saved it and you need to rename it. Next to that, there is an edit menu where you can actually go and do your cut, copy, pasting. And also, this is where you would actually do your editing of your colors, check your spelling, and so on and so on. Next to that, there is a object command where you can go down here, and this is where you group, transform, arrange, unlock, lock. And also too, later on, I'm going to show you down here where it says path, how to do an offset path. Next to the object is type. This is where you make your font selections. Right here, you'll see a list of your fonts, and you can also customize your fonts size, add glyphs, and also too, you can use it to find a font if you need to. Next to that, you'll see the select command where you can go in and select all, or you can deselect, and also you can use your same universal workspace command. Next to that, you'll see the effects. This is where you would go in and you would do your different types of effects that you can apply to your artwork or any objects on your page. You can go in and you can play with that a little later on. Next to that, you'll see the view command, and your menu here is where you go in and you can actually zoom in and zoom out, and this affects your artboard more so than anything. And you can also, like I said, go down here and adjust your guides. Next to that, you'll see the window command in your menu. You can actually go here, and this is where you would find all the different panels, and this is where you turn them on and off. The panels are found over here to the right of your workspace. There's different panels that you can create, and they actually change once you add them and take them away. These are tabs that you select to toggle between your different panels. Just above here, you'll also see a drop-down menu where you can actually change your workspace, like for what type of work you're doing, whether it be print or web. And all this does is allow you to find your different panels and your tools a little easier. For today's purposes, we're going to go back to essentials. Okay. Over here to the left of your frame is your toolbar. It has all the tools that you'll need to work on Illustrator. The first tool we're going to see here is the black pointer or the selection tool. On your key or your keyboard, you will hit V. Below that is your direct selection tool, also known as the white arrow, which is A on your keyboard. Below that is the pen tool. And I just want you to get familiar with these tools because these are going to be very important for you when you're doing your graphic design or your layout. I'm just going to go over them briefly just to give you, I just want to identify them for you. And then later on, we'll go ahead and actually use them in part 2 and 3. Just below the pen tool is your curvature tool. Below that, your line segment tool. And if you notice, there is actually a little corner triangle here. What this does, it signifies that there are some hidden tools within this tool itself. When you press and hold it down, it will actually expand and you can see the tools that are located inside of that tool. Rectangle, ellipse, polygon, star, and line are just to name a few. Just below there, you'll see the pencil tool. And that's N, by the way, on your keyboard. Below that is your type tool. This is where you click and you can actually use this to use your text or type feature. Below that, you'll see the rotation tool. the eraser tool below that, the shape builder tool, your gradient tool, your eyedropper tool, your width tool, the blend tool, and your artboard tool. I want to talk to you a little bit about artboard. Um, as you can see, this white area here, this is actually the artboard. This is where you're going to do all your layout and your placement of your images and your graphics. If you zoom out, you'll see, let's do that here, that there is a lot of space. I'm going to zoom out a little bit further so you can see just how much space. The gray area around is actually what you call your canvas. So let's go back in. I'm going to hold down my control or your command for Mac users, plus, and we're going to do 0. Command or control 0. And what it does, it centers your artboard inside your canvas area. Now, the important thing to remember about your artboard is if you say want to do multiple different designs, you can actually do that. But first you have to actually click on your artboard tool, and you can see here that you have these little squares that you can actually adjust your artboard by pressing and dragging. You can resize your artboard to a number of different sizes. Okay, but of course you have to make sure you've selected the artboard tool. Another quick and helpful tip is if you need to, say, design multiple different things on different artboards, you can actually create multiple artboards here just by holding down the Alt key, and you can press and drag. And what this does is it duplicates your artboard. You can actually create multiple artboards here, as you can see, just by pressing and dragging. And say, like, if you want to, you can resize them and you can actually design on them independently. All you have to do is make sure they're selected. But you also got to make sure you have that artboard tool selected. So hopefully this has all been very helpful to you and your setup of your first design or your first layout. Next, we're going to move into a little more detailed